Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of the Invisible Woman Talk Show. I am your host, Joyce Williams. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. We have, say it with me, an amazing episode planned tonight. It is titled All by Myself. It is titled All by Myself. We're going to take a quick break and jump right into it. So stay tuned. You got a chance to grab your friends, grab some snacks, whatever you need. Hurry back. We're going to be right back after this short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Invisible Woman Talk Show. We are talking about all by myself, the differences between being alone and being lonely. And, when you are alone, that is a choice. That is a choice that you make. You have the option to, you're choosing to not date. You're choosing to not fellowship. You're choosing to, have yourself some solitude, which is okay. That's perfectly okay. Matter of fact, it's healthy to have you some me time. I love me some me time, time to regroup and come back to, to get everything. Cause the world is just, everything is, at you. And so when you have that me time, that's okay. That's very healthy. But when that me time turns into loneliness, that's not healthy. When it turns into sadness, when it turns into feeling of worthlessness, turn into feeling of love, like nobody loves you, nobody cares. That's not okay. You can be surrounded by so many people, but you still feel isolated. You still feel like nobody understands you. Nobody's there for you. You feel alone. And there's not a single cause of loneliness. Like, it could be that you had a relationship that didn't, that ended, or, you lost somebody that you loved dearly, to death. It could be that you're now an empty nester, things like that. It's just not, but whatever the situation or circumstance that happened that now affects your feelings to where you feel like I'm by myself, then that's that feeling of loneliness. Like I said, choosing to be alone, like, you know what, everybody get out, I just want to be by myself. That's okay. Like I said, but when it turns into, I don't want anybody else around me. I just, like I said, when it turns into depression, and when it starts to interfere with your physical, your mental, your psyche, your emotional well-being, then it's not okay. It's not healthy. Because then you're, like I said, you're lonely. I know when COVID happened, we were isolated. The world shut down. And so that left people feeling sad, that left with depression, that left, those things crept in. And so people were suicidal. We saw a lot of a high rise in suicide because of that loneliness. And it makes you feel left out. And when people have cliques are not good. When you have cliques to where cliques exclude people, and that's not good. That's a totally different subject. We're not going to even go into cliques right now because heavens, that can go on and on and on. But that's another thing that could make somebody feel lonely because now they feel isolated. They feel like I don't fit in. I don't belong. Nobody understands me. I am alone. And you don't feel valued. It can cause your sleep patterns to change. You have anxiety. You could be, loneliness is, like I said, it's a feeling. And being alone is a choice. We'll be right back with more Invisible Woman right after this short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Invisible Woman Talk Show. We're talking about all by myself, the differences between being alone and being lonely. Now, I talked about that me time, and I love me some me time. So this particular time, I decided that I was going to take myself out to dinner. Now I got all fixed up. I'm all pretty. I'm feeling good, y'all. I was like, yeah, I look good. And so I was feeling good, And so I went to the restaurant, and the lady said, she's like, how many? And I said, it's one, and she was like, one? And I was like, yes, one. And so she called back to the people, and she was like, table for one. And I was like, okay, little, it was just kind of like my demeanor was kind of like, okay, like I gotta walk through this restaurant by myself now. Thank you for making an announcement. And so I went to get my seat, and then the other lady came up, and she was like, oh, it's just you? And I was like, yes. And she took my silverware, the extra silverware. I'm like, okay. And I was like, oh, okay. Still just like, and so then the waiter came up to take my order, and he was like, oh, you look beautiful. He was like, you look nice. And he was like, you're on a date? You're waiting on your date? And something like that. And I was like, no, it's just me. But I say that all to say that I went from feeling good about myself. I went from, being alone, dining alone, to feeling lonely. And it was just how they made me feel. And remember, we were talking about loneliness is a feeling. So I went from being alone, which was my choice, to allowing someone else to make me feel lonely. And I wasn't lonely when I walked in there. I was like, I'm feeling good. I'm going out to dinner, but it just changed. So it was my circumstances that changed, that made me feel not alone, but lonely. Not just be alone, but feel lonely, because the circumstances changed. And that's how fast it can happen. In an instant, within a 5-minute period span, I went, like I said, to loneliness. And in a restaurant full of people, surrounded by people, sitting by myself, feeling lonely. And I just told him, I said, look, let me just get my food to go. And went home and ate by myself. So it was, anyway, I don't want to talk about that anymore. It was some good food, but anyway, it's just how that situation, like I said, changed how I felt in an instance. We'll be right back with more Invisible Woman right after this break. Stay tuned. My name is Joyce Williams, and I'm the host of the Invisible Woman Talk Show. Life doesn't always give you flowers. That's why you should tune in to the Invisible Woman Talk Show. It'll help empower you to find your inner strength to bring out the beauty in you. JWInvisibleWoman.com, the Invisible Woman Talk Show. Welcome back to the Invisible Woman. We're still talking about all by myself and the difference between being alone and feeling lonely. Now, it's a natural feeling to feel loneliness. We all have experienced the feeling of loneliness, including me. I'm not exempt. Nobody's exempt. And so, but it's, like I said, it's okay. But when you are feeling that way, acknowledge how you feel and evaluate why you are feeling that way. You could be feeling like nobody needs you, like you're not important, or, it's safer so I don't get hurt, or, I don't want to feel rejected. I don't want to be rejected. But you are in control. You are in control. And you deserve quality relationships. You deserve healthy relationships. You're worthy of love. You're valuable. You are worthy to be loved. You're unique and you're special, and you deserve to be loved. I had to say that again because I wanted to get it in your head, get it in your spirit, that you are worthy of love and you deserve to be loved. Now, what you can do is also find hobbies, that you enjoy. Find your passion. Take a walk, volunteer. Oh my gosh, volunteering, helping others is a joy within itself. So when you're volunteering, you're getting yourself out there and seeing the joy that you're bringing to others. And guess what? You are feeling the importance, how important you are. Because you are important. Like I said, don't stay in your state of loneliness. That's an issue when you do. It's okay to be alone, and it's okay to experience a feeling of loneliness, but don't stay there. Because when you stay there, it's a deep, dark spiral that is going to lead to other challenges. And it's going to be down, down, down from there. So you cannot stay in that state. Find, like I said, find things that you love. Contact family and friends. Maybe somebody you haven't talked to in a long time. Social media makes it easier for us to connect with people. So reconnect with somebody that you haven't connected with in a long time, or, just reach out to somebody, talk to people. There's lots of things to do, lots of places to go, lots of stuff that you don't have to be lonely. You don't have to be lonely. I almost sound like an ad. You don't have to be lonely. No, we're not going there today. But what I'm saying is you don't have to. You are in control. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Invisible Woman right after this short break. Welcome back to The Invisible Woman. We are talking about all by myself. Now, there are 4 types of loneliness. You have emotional, situational, can't even talk, social loneliness, and chronic loneliness. Now, emotional loneliness comes from within. That's how you're feeling within yourself. Like, oh my gosh, I feel so lonely. I feel lonely. This is how I feel. Being, like I said, when you're surrounded by people and you still feel, as they say, some type of way, you still feel alone. With the situational loneliness, it is feeling lonely because of circumstances. Like circumstances that make it hard for you to meet new people, make it hard for you to develop friendships. Like, for instance, you're in a different country and you have a language barrier. That's a situation when you are not able to get out. Just say you are have a disability, or you have young children where you're not able to get out and socialize. That's your situation that leads to loneliness. So it can, when it starts to keep you confined, where you can't get out and about, or when you do get out and about, like I said, you may have that language barrier where you're not able to communicate with people. So you have that feeling of loneliness. Now you have the social loneliness, which is when you are shy, you're awkward, you are just not willing to put yourself out there because you are withdrawn. You have low self-esteem. That could be the one when you're feeling that feeling of rejection. It's just kind of like, or like I said, when you're socially awkward. My daughter suffered from selective mutism, and that is where she would not talk around people. She wouldn't talk around people. She wouldn't talk in certain situations. And so she was shy, extremely shy, to the point where she wasn't able to make friends. So she was socially lonely. You have the chronic loneliness. And chronic loneliness is when you do this, you're doing the self-isolation, but you've been doing it for so long that now it becomes a lifestyle. You have those people that that they never go out anymore. Like, they live in their house. They never go out. You never see them anymore. They ordering everything online and doing everything, even before online shopping. It was just like, they're not coming out. They're self-isolated, and they could be suffering from chronic loneliness. So the 4 types of loneliness are emotional, situational, I'm counting my fingers, it's emotional, situational, social, and chronic loneliness. We'll be right back with more Invisible Woman right after this short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back to The Invisible Woman. We are talking about all by myself. And I just want to go a little bit more into detail about chronic loneliness. And that is when you have the inability to connect on a deeper level. You know, you have surface friends. You know, you don't have that connection. You know, you have acquaintances, you have casual friends, because you don't feel like anybody truly, understands you. They don't get you. You have a overwhelming feeling of isolation, regardless of where you are or who's around you. You could be surrounded by, like I said, plenty of people, and you at a party, and you still feel like you're disengaged. You still feel separate. You still feel like you're almost like you're in a bubble. You're in your own bubble, and it's you have negative feelings of self-doubt and self-worth, and it's may feel like you're less than enough. And if these feelings, they become long term, that's how you get the chronic loneliness. But and it makes you burn out, and you get tired of trying to, if you're constantly reaching out and trying to build a connection with people, you're reaching out and it isn't reciprocated, you feel like you're not seen, you feel like you're not heard, and that's when you get the exhaustion, you get the burnout, and you just like start setting into the chronic loneliness. We'll be right back with more Invisible Woman right after this short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back to The Invisible Woman. We are talking about all by myself. Now, I just want to say that loneliness is not the enemy. What happens is that if it festers and it becomes an issue, because what you want to do is identify it so that you can have ways to overcome it. You'll know when you're feeling lonely. You'll know what's causing you to feel lonely. And that way you can identify it. Because like I said, we all have experienced loneliness, but you can overcome it. And you don't want to stay in that state to where it turns into other issues, like I said, depression and anxiety and health challenges. Humans have a need to feel connected. That's just how we were built. And we sometimes just being around other people isn't enough. You can be in the same room with people and not feel connected. It's, in fact, being surrounded by a lot of people very close, it doesn't make you very close to them. It doesn't mean that you're going to be close to them. So sometimes it can make you feel more alone. And that's when you realize that's when you start to beat yourself up. You don't want to let it get so big and you pretend that it's not there. And instead, like I said, you want to learn how to lead your way out of it wisely. Okay. There are like I said, the situational loneliness, the chronic loneliness, the emotional loneliness, the social loneliness. And as situational loneliness it's a unique, like I said, unique change in circumstances. It can occur as a result of an illness or a work situation. It can show up where you're in a situation where you're being forced into a period of isolation for a long time. And you're lonely because you're missing a loved one or a friend who lives far away, or a parent who passed away, or the community that you had to leave, your neighborhood. You know what authentic connection feels like, and that's a part of what hurts. Like, you're missing something that you had. So it just makes you lonely. But I do have a few ways that you can care for yourself in a situation of chronic loneliness. We'll be right back with more Invisible Woman right after this short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back to The Invisible Woman. We are talking about all by myself. Now, there are times when you feel lonely at certain holidays, around the holiday time, Christmas, it's that loved one's birthday that they're not no longer with us. There are certain times when you feel lonely, and that's natural, that's okay. But we're talking about now the loneliness that leads to chronic loneliness, leads to situational loneliness and social loneliness and emotional loneliness. The those four types of loneliness. There are some people that are more susceptible and vulnerable to loneliness. People that have no friends and no family. When you are estranged from your family, you guys don't communicate anymore. When you're a single parent and you are, you may find it hard to maintain a social life because, you're a single parent. If you are have lack of finances, resources, or lack of transportation, you can't get around, or you don't have any money, that can make you experience loneliness because you're not able to get out and do things and be sociable and interact. If you are experienced any type of abuse, you may find it hard to form relationships with other people. So that makes you vulnerable to becoming chronic loneliness. You say, Joyce, how can I manage loneliness? Well, what you can do, you can make some new connections. You can try peer support, you know, talk to therapists, just stop comparing yourself to other people, because heaven knows that's right there sending you into a spiral. So don't do that. And look after yourself, because self-care, I say it all the time, self-care is important. So you want to make sure that you are taking care of yourself. So those are, different things work for different people at different times. Try something that you're comfortable with. Try not to put too much pressure on yourself. And if something isn't working, or if it don't feel right, try something else. Try something different. But what you want to do is not get yourself into, like I said, a deeper situation. What you're trying to do is get out of the loneliness and get to feeling better. There are ways to manage loneliness. You could, make new connections. Like I said, get out there, make some friends. Try a support group. Try to open up to people. I know that it's hard. I know it can be difficult because you're used to being closed in and withdrawn. But try to open up to people. And that way you can meet new people and they can get to know you on a deeper level. Talk to therapists. You may have to get some therapy. You may have to get some help. That's what they're there for. They are there to make you feel better. To help you to get back to yourself, or even a better version of yourself. So do that. Definitely do some self-care. Self-care, I say it all the time, self-care is important. You want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. You take care of everybody else, but you don't take care of yourself. You're the last person to get some help. And you need to take better care of yourself. Make sure that, and don't be comparing yourself to other people. Heaven knows that'll send you into a downward spiral real fast. So don't be doing that. You are who you are. Be who you are. There's nobody else that can be you except for you. And there's nobody better at being you than you. You are, I said it before, you are valuable, you're important, you are loved. And I'm going to keep saying you are loved until you get it, until you understand that you are loved. You are important. I sound like I'm on a help now. What did she say? You're just kind, you're special, or something like that. I can't remember it word for word. But what I'm telling you is that you are loved. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Invisible Woman right after this short break. Welcome back to The Invisible Woman. We are talking about all by myself. And we talked about how being alone versus being lonely, and about having healthy relationships with yourself. And another thing I just wanted to say, because I don't remember if I said it or not, but it's okay to say no. I did an episode about that. It was called Just Say No or something like that. So go back and watch that episode. But yeah, learn how to say no, and learn how to. I had to say that, yeah, for myself. But anyway, this is not about me. It's just, make time for yourself. Make time for the things that you enjoy. Set aside some me time, some time for you. And because it's not selfish to want to take care of yourself. Don't let anybody tell you that, it's selfish to make time for you or to set aside some time for you, because you need that. And it's like I said, when you're in a relationship with somebody else, you make time for them. How else are you going to continue to build that bond? So it's okay to make time for yourself as well. You're building a bond with yourself. You're building a healthy relationship with yourself. You're learning how to love yourself. You're learning how to be okay with spending time alone with you. Like I said, being alone is not a bad thing. Even being lonely is not a bad thing, because we all experience loneliness, but getting into a state of loneliness to where you're just not yourself. You are, setting into, like I said, just a downward spiral. That is not okay. That's when you need to seek help. That's when you need an intervention. That's when you need some therapy. That's when you need someone to help you. Okay? It's okay to say, I'm not okay. I need some help. All right? I used to, I'm about to tell my business, but I used to sing in the choir, praise team, all that stuff. So I'm not like a lead singer. I don't consider myself to be a lead singer, but there was this song. Oh my gosh, I'm about to sing for you guys. But it said, hallelujah, I am not alone. And then it said, He's my comfort, always holds me close. Yeah, I think it was Psalms 23. That's the name of the song. And I always think about that song when I am feeling alone. He always guides me through mountains and valleys. Now I'm gonna have you guys looking up that song, because man, okay, yeah, it's a beautiful song about not being alone, and how you are comforted, so yeah, I cannot believe I put that out there with, like, I'm over here singing like I can sing. No, I was over here singing. This was singing. This was not singing. There's a difference, But yeah, I think we're going to end here, because now I'm all embarrassed. Thank you to everyone who watched. Please don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Invisible Woman Talk Show. You know I had to do it. My website, jwinvisiblewoman.com. Yes, that's my website, jwinvisiblewoman.com. You can catch the old episodes of the Invisible Woman Talk Show on LaPeca TV. It's on Roku. So if you go to my website, click on the little red button, it'll take you directly to the Roku website on the app. Amazing. If you want to email me, encourage me, or, need some advice, I'm not an expert, but I'll do my best. But it is formerinvisiblewoman@yahoo.com. It was a pleasure spending this very brief time with you. God bless. Good night.